Here you go, bro.
Welcome to another edition of 22MW. My name's Tony. I'm coming to you from EBK Studios. And today I'm joined by Kurtis. Kurtis, as you know, I took a new job in March, and I got my first performance review. The two most prominent words in there were friendly and positive. Can you think of two words that maybe describe me a little better?
Unfriendly and negative?
I sent a copy of it to my old boss just so you could see that. But anyways,
Okay.
let's get into our top 22. I'm going to go first this week.
Top 22.
Because I want to do something a little different. I don't want to talk about my top 22. I'm going to put it in the notes of the show. You can click the info button. I want you to watch it and send me your thoughts on it. I kind of thought it was brilliant. It's the latest video by the Angry Video Game Nerd. I really liked it. I don't want to say too much about it, but I'll post it, and I hope you, the guys I talk to regularly, will email me their thoughts on it, and I hope maybe I'll hear from some new people as well. Kurtis?
I didn't see it. Anyway, I did see, though, I finished Luke Cage, so that's in the top 22. I listened to you and Kyle talk about it, so I think you guys said most of what was to be said. It's probably third for me. It's better than Daredevil Season 2. I didn't really like the whole second part of Daredevil Season 2 where it got into all the ninja stuff. Probably going to have to get on board for that because I think that's pretty heavy in Iron Fist, and I'm going to guess Defenders as well, just from kind of the way those stories are going. So, not that either one of these were bad. They just weren't as good as Daredevil Season 1 or Jessica Jones, which were just amazing. And I enjoyed Luke Cage a lot. I guess I agreed with Kyle that the switch of the villains halfway through I didn't really like. I was just getting into Cottonmouth, and they were starting to show you his backstory, which is kind of one of my other problems. Is it was really similar to Daredevil Season 1, but Daredevil Season 1 was really good, so that was fine. So, but as soon as they started doing that, then they. I don't want to spoil too much if you haven't seen it, but there's an abrupt turn where right when you're kind of getting to know more about Cottonmouth, he's no longer the villain, and Diamondback comes in, and you don't really find out a lot about him, and I think that's intentional. So it looks like they're maybe setting that up for Season 2 or something like that, when is that going to be? That's going to be in 3 years probably?
At some point, do you think we'll see these actors where they, Mike Coulter is only Luke Cage on film, and they just stop showing up in other things, and they just film these and crank them out back to back to back.
I mean, I don't think they're ever going to do more than 2 because it just it doesn't really make sense for them the way the Netflix model is to do more than 2 a year. I don't think they're going to really increase their revenue by doing 3. So I think they're going to stick to 2. They've already started filming Punisher. We know Iron Fist and Defenders next year. We already know there's going to be a Daredevil Season 3 and Jessica Jones Season 2. So I mean, it could be 2019 before we get Season 2 of Luke Cage. That's probably actually when it would be, right?
I don't know. That seems way too long. I mean, just way too long.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of the setup at the end of that. It seems kind of weird to do that 3 years later, right?
Well, like I said, I think that one, again, it was, my fourth favorite, but it was the one that left me I want to see more and more and more now.
Yeah, exactly.
Typically, I'm not like that, but just the way they ended it was really, really, solid in that regard.
Yeah, so, if you like these, you'll like this one. Check it out, and even though it's going to have ninja stuff in it, I'm looking forward to Iron Fist early next year, so.
Maybe for Iron Fist, you'll watch it in a reasonable amount of time, and you'll talk with me and Kyle about it.
I have to watch these with my wife. She really enjoys them as well, and we have to find a night where we both are free, and it's just, we can only watch 2 or 3 before we have to go to bed. If we get 3, we're pushing past 11 o'clock bedtime, and that's just that's not good for anyone.
You were mentioning the other day or so that you got a maid. Maybe it's time to bring in a full-time maid, maybe our mother who could go for a place to live.
No, that's not going to happen. I did hear that you were behind a house, though, and we're going to make sure you had room for Mom to move in with you. That's what I heard.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a complete fabrication.
So
That's
what they're saying.
Yeah? At church? Is that what they're saying
I'm
at church,
hearing,
Curtis?
I'm like Donald Trump. I'm hearing things. People are talking.
In the clips? So let's get into our watch it, rent it, and forget it for the week. So this week we're going to be taking a look at 3 kind of trailers. I don't know. This is kind of not the best collection I've ever picked here, but there are 3 kind of trailers for sequels to movies. So we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, same players coming back. War of the Planet of the Apes. This was the least amount of trailer you could probably possibly do.
That's not it. It's not a trailer. It's not even a teaser.
And then Logan, which will be the final appearance of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, which I don't know that it's the final appearance of him as Logan. I think that's kind of where that'll go. But which one of these are you going to forget, Curtis?
I mean, it's easily the Planet of the Apes one because nothing happened in that. It's just
Have
basically.
You seen those movies?
So yeah, I've seen them, and I actually I remember the second one I liked a lot, and then I've had zero desire to go back and watch it. I'm not sure why, because I remember really being blown away by it. Maybe that's a little.
I think
strong.
I gave it a 5.
I didn't review it, but I did go watch it, and I was very impressed with that movie. I remember being like, wow, this is a really quality film, and I've had no desire to go back and see it. First one I thought was pretty good, same thing. I have no desire to go back and see it. I don't know why that is, and
for me, it's not even one of those movies I lie to myself, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to rewatch that. Like, I've been saying that about Civil War for a while now. Like, I think I actually am going to watch it tomorrow, but it's my forget it as well for that exact same reason.
That, and it's not really a trailer.
Sure. But, the weird thing is, once I kind of thought about this later, was Superfan Kyle actually kind of recommended all 3 of these. Like, at the beginning of the week, he was like, you got to do War of the Planet of the Apes. And then on Twitter, he hit us up with Guardians. And then today, he texted me about Logan. So I'm going to blame him. I'm going to put this crap on him. Remember, that's Superfan Kyle, 42069 at suckit.com. Okay. I think that was right. Anyways. Okay, so what's your rent it?
I'm gonna go with Logan. I mean, this was an actual trailer, and it looked pretty good, I guess. But looked like it's gonna be kind of like a road trip movie, maybe. I don't know. It was, it's kind of all over the place. Didn't tell you a ton, but that's the good thing about it. Like, we don't want to know too much. I just, we talked about those X-Men movies. I like some of them. I think some of them are pretty good. I've been trying to rewatch Apocalypse, and I've had to conjure it, like watching it 45 minutes at a time while I'm working out.
Why even bother then?
Well, I say I'm going to work out for like an hour and a half and then go finish it inside, but then I only work out for 45 minutes or something. I don't know. So
you're punishing yourself for not getting a good workout in? I mean, I love that movie, but
yeah,
I don't know why you would.
I think it's good. I'm just saying. I like we talked about, I think it has to do with all the continuity problems and all the recasting. It makes it really hard to really dive into that universe. Obviously Hugh Jackman is the one commonality in all the movies, so maybe I didn't care much for Wolverine, but I might get behind this, so it's my rent it.
For me, it's my watch it. It looks really strong, and I like that they're gonna do a little bit of the Old Man Logan stuff. They're gonna do the X-23 stuff, which means that technically we will have a Wolverine continuing on in this film franchise. I don't know. It got me excited for it. I had saw that the trailer was dropped, but I never even really cared to watch it until Kyle texted me, and I was really impressed. I think it looks incredible. So that means Curtis's watch it, and my rent it is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and the reason it's my rent it is just simply for the fact that it does something that I love, but it does hinder it here, I guess. I love this, though. Let's be very clear about that. It's huge in my life. I love this. It just says, like, hey, remember this really cool stuff? It's the exact same really cool stuff, just more of it. And I'm like, I'm in.
Remember Rocket Raccoon? Remember Groot? I remember.
Yeah, member berry. Do you like the member berries on South Park?
They get me every time. I love them.
They come up with some good things to remember. Like,
I mean, it's
remember
mostly
Lando
Chewbacca. It's
Calrissian?
mostly Chewbacca and Star Wars, but yeah. Occasionally, remember when there weren't so many Mexicans too, but yeah, usually, remember the cantina? Yeah, I remember.
Oh, this season's so good of South Park, right? No,
I didn't see the one Wednesday night because I went to bed after the debate, so I got to watch it. But yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot. It's very funny. I just want to know. I just want to know when Cartman's going to be Cartman again. If it happened this week, don't spoil it for me. But it's going to be a long con. I'm hoping. So
you think it will be a long con?
it's got to be, right? It's got to be. Like I remember Fat Button Pancake Fat Button Pancake Head.
Yeah.
He went all the way to the end of the episode. That was a long con for Cartman. Like,
this is going to be a season-wide con, though. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just enjoying it because I do like that version of the character. So I'm just going to enjoy it while it's around. All right, I guess we should get into. Or you didn't talk about Guardians. Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same boat. It was like, hey, remember that movie everyone loved and everyone thought was really cool except for Maddox? Here's some more of it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be cool. Come see it. I will. Watch it.
All right. So this week we're going to be taking a look at 2 Zach Galifianakis movies that are currently in theaters. The first one came out just a few weeks ago. From 2016, directed by Jared Hess, starring Zach Galifianakis, Owen Wilson, Kristen Wiig, Jason Sudeikis, Kate McKinnon, Mary Elizabeth Ellis, and Devin Rattray's in there as well. It's called Masterminds, and it's the story of one of the largest cash heists in America history. And it's based on a true story, blah, 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 lots of crap like that. They tell you that like probably 15 times in this movie. What did you think about this movie, Kurtis?
Oh man, this is terrible. This is just really not funny. I think it's really weird because it's not like it's not funny like a Kevin Hart, Will Ferrell type team up where they're just telling the same boring jokes over and over again. I mean, there's some of that, but this wasn't like someone going, "Oh snap" and stuff like that. That the same tired jokes that these movies keep trying to crank out as fresh. Like it didn't do that, but what it did was not funny. I guess it tried to be Napoleon Dynamite because it was Jared Hess, but whereas like that movie did a great job of, even though it wasn't science fiction or fantasy, and I'm not as big a fan as some people in our family, and not a big hater as some people in our family, but that movie did a great job of kind of like setting its universe, which was just that little town they were in, and everything felt natural there, and these goofy characters fit at home there. Mm-hmm. Whereas here they didn't do that. Like this, it was even weird. I mean. This took place, I guess, in like the early 90s. I don't think it even ever said that, did it? Did I miss something? Did it point out that this was like probably 1992 or something?
I mean, I kept wondering that if I had missed it as well, but I mean, because it was very obvious that it was, sometime before 2000. I don't.
I mean, at first I thought like, oh, he's got a pager, that's a joke, and then I realized like, no, wait, this is like takes place in early 1990s when someone would have had a pager.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely pre 9/11.
Yeah, so, it didn't really. It tried to just kind of throw you into this movie with these goofy characters, and, it just wasn't funny. Kate McKinnon completely wasted on another. This was the anti-Ghostbusters. I don't mean anti-Ghostbusters 2016. This is the anti-Ghost. The characters are the joke. The joke is Zach Galifianakis is goofy looking and talks funny. The joke is Kate McKinnon's character has a weird look on her face, like she's about to do something, like she's going to kill you or something, and she talks real weird. And Jason Sudeikis, the joke is he's wild and crazy. And, it's just the characters are the joke. That's it. That's all that is to these characters, is they're a joke. The one exception maybe is Kristen Wiig. Like, she actually had to show some range in this movie and convince you at the end that she actually cared about Zach Galifianakis, which was not easy to do, and I think she actually kind of pulled it off. But other than that, this movie was terrible. It was boring. It was not funny. There was one guy in the theater who I would have spoke up, but I was pretty sure he had Tourette's, who laughed at everything. But he only had one laugh, and it was, and he couldn't, the funnier something was, he didn't extend the laugh to, longer. It was just louder. So when something was really funny, it would be, and then something was less funny, it would be, But he really enjoyed the movie. Maybe it was just his Tourette's, but no one else did. Those were the only laughs the entire movie. Theater wasn't full, but there were a decent number of people in there, and no one except that one guy laughed the entire time. Not funny, terrible movie, awful, awful, awful.
So you want to play a game of who did it better? Who did the your mother's named Martha thing better?
Batman v Superman did it better. This one didn't even make sense.
I mean, how did, your parents' names are on your birth certificate? I don't know. It seemed weird that...
after he became a celebrity, after he got arrested, he still picks him up in jail 7 years later. You think he would have figured it out by then. He knew he got arrested and went to jail, so he probably saw on the news that wasn't his real name.
I'll give him that over 7 years he came to realize that he was a decent guy or something.
No, but he actually still called him Mike or whatever. He was still calling him that name.
Okay, so it's pre-CNN maybe.
All right.
What year did your boy invent CNN?
Before whatever year this movie takes place.
Okay, fair enough. What about CNN Sports Illustrated?
That's no longer a thing. So
what's that a thing?
It was, but it's not anymore. CNN replaced Sports Illustrated. This is one of the weirdest things ever. They replaced Sports Illustrated with what's it called? The clickbait thing.
BuzzFeed?
No, the sports one. I can't even
know.
Sports Nation, I think. I don't know. It was a site that literally is one of these hey, your 35 favorite quarterbacks, and each one is a click. They replaced Sports Illustrated as theirs. It used to be when you went to CNN.com and you saw a sports article, it took you to the SI version. Now it takes you to some stupid listicle on Sports Nation. All right,
okay.
That's always bothered me. That's one of the weirdest things. You're supposed to be a real news network, and you replaced, the pinnacle or one of the pinnacles of sports journalism in Sports Illustrated with BuzzFeed for sports. It's really
who else would be the pinnacle if it's not Sports Illustrated?
I would, as far as sports journalism, the big names, I would say that one's it. And even it's kind of taken a dive recently because that's, everyone kind of has to lower themselves to the mob. So, but it's still way better than most things. I had to stop reading it a few years ago because they changed their website to this awful view. Supposedly they finally fixed it this year after 3 years, but I haven't been going back. So I should try it again because I used to love Sports Illustrated, so they made the website unreadable. Weren't we talking about Masterminds though?
We were, which is one of my all-time favorite board games. I think I made that joke last week, so I'll carry on. But it is. That's true. That's no joke. I didn't hate this movie. It was very watchable. I thought Kristen Wiig was really good in it. I definitely prefer this to Ghostbusters, though I would like to see Melissa McCarthy and Harold Ramis and Bill Murray and some other people remake it. I think that would be fun, right?
Remake this movie?
Yeah, remake this movie with freaking Zach Galifianakis being played by Melissa McCarthy.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask, does it still have that awful voice? His voice is just so that voice is just unbearable throughout this movie.
And the thing is, you're reminded because obviously we watched, these movies back to back, I watched them back to back. You watched them within a couple of days of each other. But also, as soon as the credits start playing, they give you outtakes, and he talks in his normal voice a lot in those. So, voice is very annoying. But I liked Kristen Wiig. I don't get the Kate McKinnon thing. It was really weird, and then there's no payoff, right?
Such a waste of talent.
I don't know. I maybe there's a payoff. I don't know. It's really weird storytelling. I think this movie's set on the shelf for a while. A lot of jorts going on this. I think I laughed a few times, but not a ton. 2 superfan Kyles out of 5 for me.
I think this is. I can't remember, but I think this is the worst movie I saw this year. It is so It's painfully unfunny. 1 out of 5.
So let me ask you about this. Like, what is it that I haven't felt obligated to give a movie an abortion in a long time? Have things gotten better, or have I just lowered my bar?
I think after you see so many bad ones, they stop annoying. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll have to see.
Like this one couldn't be it because it's less than 90 minutes long, so it just couldn't be even considered against Transformers 4 or anything.
Well, Lucy was only 90 minutes long, and that was still an abortion. I don't think I've seen anything as bad as that one, except maybe for Pan last year. That movie was really terrible. But
you never saw like Transcendence or yeah.
After your stellar glowing review, no, I didn't rush out to see that. No, I think you brought it up like 5 weeks in a row.
Probably longer than that, and here a couple years later I'm still talking about it. But I think that should be your new punishment when you don't work out the proper amount of time, is you should have to subsidize that time with Transcendence.
I'll pass.
Okay, fair enough. All right, up next, also in theaters now, directed by Paul director Greg Matula, starring Zach Galifianakis, John Hamm, Isla Fisher, and Gal Gadot. It's called Keeping Up with the Joneses. This movie is 16% from the critics, 7% from the top critics, 49% from the audience. And I'm actually right there with the audience. I actually I enjoyed the characters in this movie. I didn't really care about what they were doing, but I liked the way they interacted, and I liked their progression and their relationships. I felt like there was actually some depth there. And if they hadn't put, the story was just super, super stupid. But I thought the characters were very well executed. Again, if Gal Gadot would lose like 7 pounds, she could be a very attractive woman.
Good God.
I know Donald Trump's ruined me telling jokes like that, but whatever.
I agree with you. I think I liked it more than you did. That was why I liked it though. Maybe there's a little bit of a daddy's home going on here where, I still not sure why I like that movie. I don't think anyone is, but I want to say it's because Will Ferrell, instead of playing a guy who's really dumb and fat and takes his shirt off all the time, he played a guy who was like above average intelligence who took his pants off, and it was just like a nice change. And like in this movie, Zach Galifianakis doesn't play like a dumb fat guy. He plays like and I actually kind of liked his character and, John Hamm's kind of speech there at the end. And definitely, absolutely, the selling point of the movie, if there is one, is the chemistry of the 4 main characters. It's really good. It works really well. The story is dumb. It's not as dumb as Suicide Squad, but it is dumb. And this was very watchable. I would say I enjoyed this movie. I would actually, I know it's getting trashed, and so did the other one. I don't know. I heard a lot of people laughing. I thought the end, it wasn't the most hysterical movie I saw by any means. I'm not ready to give it any Oscars or anything to that extent. I did chuckle a few times. I found the end with Patton Oswalt to be very funny. I laughed out loud a couple times at that. He was really funny as that character in that scene, and that's just the way that whole scene kind of played out it was humorous.
Yeah, I think the reveal was really good. That's why I can't believe you just kind of gave that away.
Well, I just said Patton Oswalt, and he's like in every other movie. That's not spoiling anything until you make a big deal about it.
Okay, let me know when you write me in about. Tell me who spoiled it more, me or Kurtis. Okay.
Patton Oswalt. That's like saying Samuel L. Jackson's in a movie. I mean, Patton Oswalt's like in every other movie. It's a big deal.
I really don't feel like he's Samuel L. Jackson.
Okay, he's not that level, but he is in a ton of movies. So I don't think it's a big deal to say that. Anyway, I like that part of it. Again, the chemistry of the main characters was good. There's not a ton.
Can you name another movie he was in this year?
If I had time to think about it. I mean, his wife died this year. His wife died this year.
They make movies like the year before usually, dog. Come on. Take your crap somewhere else. Zach Galifianakis was in 2 movies this year.
This
right?
week. Yeah, this week, right?
Yeah, there you go. This character, the character, again, and I think almost like, so one of our cousins, again, me and Kurtis are brothers. One of our cousins, who I'm sure owes Kurtis some money, she once told me like she was going to go see Pocahontas and like read a book just so she could like listen to Mel Gibson's voice. And obviously this is prior to like when you had to talk about how much you hate Mel Gibson and stuff. And I kind of got the opposite of that with Gal Gadot. Like, she is like stunning, like just beautiful. Like I think I think it's stupid whenever people, like my buddies, will say like, "Oh, that movie was really good. Eva Mendes was super hot in it." Like, in the age of the internet, like that just doesn't work. Like, you want to see Eva Mendes be hot, just go look it up online. Like, but Gal Gadot is really hot in this. She just and she's not even a bad actor. It's just that her dialect, or yeah, I guess that's what you would call that. Her dialect is not good.
She's definitely not a good actress.
No, she has good facial expressions.
All right, I guess.
She even kind of delivers lines well.
She's not bad. I'm just saying she's not good.
She just doesn't. It's just hard to understand what she's saying sometimes. And I actually think she's come a long way since Fast and the Furious 6.
A movie that Ludacris was the best actor in. Yeah.
Chris Bridges, he's in Crash. He's not a terrible actor, right? He's from ATL. I think this movie took place in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, it looked like it did. There were people wearing jackets when there are green leaves on trees, which doesn't seem like... I mean, it's been 80 degrees this week, and it's almost November, so it's pretty hot down here, but... Yeah, I guess. They definitely said Atlanta on a bunch of stuff. So,
okay. Some people wear jackets all year long. I have summer hoodies.
Most people don't.
Well, gym shorts and hoodies. Maybe a summer hoodie, maybe a winter hoodie, depending on the time of year. But I'm actually gonna give this movie 3 fast cars in freedom. I that was probably the funniest moment to me, was when his code name was Rascal Flatts.
I'm giving it a 3 out of 5 as well. I know super low. What did you say? Like single digits on Rotten Tomatoes? I mean, that
16 from the critics, 7 from the top critics, and obviously that'll fluctuate over the next couple of days.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 3 out of 5 as well. I'd wait for it to maybe come out on Redbox or something on a rush to the theater. But if you're looking for a comedy, this is way better than most. So,
since I watched it, I've been trying to think of like ways they could pull these characters out of this environment, put them in some sorts of other environment, and make another movie. Because I really did like the 4 of them together, and especially the 2 couples.
Yeah,
they're all 4 good together, but the way that the couples worked out was, great.
And Zach Galifianakis was not a fat, dumb guy.
Yeah, he was actually smart in some ways.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. He wasn't very fat either.
Yeah, he definitely had lost weight between Masterminds and this.
Got a haircut, too, thankfully.
That haircut was ridiculous in Masterminds.
Awful.
Right?
Awful. Not since John Travolta in that, what was that movie called?
Michael?
No.
Oh.
the one that was famous for Halle Berry taking her top off.
Oh, Swordfish, yeah.
Swordfish, yeah. Not since that has there been a more ridiculous haircut in a movie.
That's good call. Good call. All right, so here we are. We're gonna find out. You're gonna find out at the same time I am. Maybe I got a slight spoiler, but we're gonna find out about Kurtis's classroom. I'm gonna turn it over to him.
All right. Even though it's called Kurtis's classroom, Common Core Tony sets the curriculum. So I actually looked this up, and it wasn't the most exciting stuff. And I thought about changing it, and then I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I would never hear the end of it if I pulled that stunt again. So I'm going to do the best I can here. Tony asked me to talk a little about colorization of film. I guess maybe specifically with Ted Turner. Not a ton out there on the internet about this, but, just to get into the colorization, obviously we're talking about taking black and white films and adding color to them. And since there's been movies, people have been doing that. The guy from Hugo, a bunch of his movies were colorized. I can't say his name, so I'm going to say the guy from Hugo. You know who I'm talking about, right?
Asa Butterfield?
No. The character who was the movie maker that the old guy played. He made the Trip to the Moon movie. That was a real guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this was a real guy. He made some of the first movies. So
that makes sense.
Some of those
Scorsese's probably a fan.
Yeah, some of those were colorized. And back then you couldn't even color it and copy it. So you actually had to color each individual print. So there was 60 color versions of that movie.
Oh, wow.
Only one of which still exists.
But was it like Super Game Boy where you could just pick a palette of colors and then it assigned them to different areas?
So the way they did it, mostly, they would take a second print of the movie and make stencils out of it, and then put it frame for frame over the original print and use those to paint. So, like, if there was
that seems super time consuming.
Yeah,
my God.
Well, I mean, thankfully,
miserable.
most of these movies were only 15 minutes long.
Oh, okay. Okay. I mean, it still sounds terrible. That's, that was probably 24 frames per second back then. So that's still
it's
a lot of that.
Yeah, so it took a long time. They did eventually kind of find better way to color movies, or at least to copy them once they had colored them. But it was a very time-consuming process. And you got into things like coloring old black and white cartoons. They would actually trace the old cells and color them in. So they actually basically traced and created a brand new drawing when they colorized a lot of the Bugs Bunny cartoons and stuff like that. And then when you didn't actually get digital colorization until the 70s. And even then, it was very difficult. It would basically, like, whenever a new scene or a new shot came up, the person would have to go in and color everything, and then the computer was smart enough, I use that term loosely, to distribute those same colors for that shot, and then once the shot changed, you had to redo it. So it was still a very time-consuming process, but you didn't have to go frame for frame. You could maybe get 100 or 100, I don't know how many frames, but you could probably get several frames before the shot moved and you actually had to redo it. I think maybe older movies usually have longer shots anyway, so it was probably a little bit easier. And then that's kind of where you get into when Ted Turner came in. And, already before he got involved with it, people did not like this. Siskel and Ebert ran a full episode of their show about how much they hated it. And while it was very snotty to the point they're saying that they prefer all movies to be in black and white to color.
Oh, wow. Wow, that is crazy.
Both of them actually said that for every movie they watched, if they were forced to choose, you can only choose one, they would choose black and white for every movie they watched from here on out. They say it makes movement look better. I don't know. I think they're just being kind of snotty. But they did have some good points. Those movies were actually shot to be shown in black and white, so the lighting and stuff can change the mood. A lot of times it's someone guessing the colors, and the colors are wrong. There's a kind of an infamous example where Frank Sinatra does not have blue eyes. His eyes are brown. So, and then once you make them brown, they're going to be brown for the rest of that shot. So, but the way Ted Turner got into it, is kind of the way he got into everything, is Ted Turner's a guy who inherited his father's billboard business here in the Atlanta area and used that to buy a local TV station. Not a cable station. If you got it here in the Atlanta area over the antenna. What?
Did his dad loan him a very, very small amount of money? I think
he just inherited that. I think he just inherited that billboard business when his dad died. Took it from there.
Oh.
But it was a very small billboard business. So he bought this channel, and we could actually get it where we live. The sound didn't come on, but you could get a decent enough picture to watch the Braves and listen to them on radio. And that's why he bought the Braves. He bought the Braves because he's like, I bought this channel. This seems crazy today, but he actually bought the Braves because he bought a TV channel, and then he said, well, I need stuff to show on this channel. So he bought the Braves. And he also bought most of MGM's movies. So he actually owned these movies, and his thing when everyone started crapping all over this was, I bought these movies, I'm going to do with them what I want, which,
Nice, yeah, I like that.
Sounds kind of like George Lucas in that South Park episode, right? who was also against the colorization of movies and even testified before Congress that movies should not be colorized. And obviously you get into the whole art thing, and this is how it was originally intended and things like that. And I guess I'm kind of the belief that as long as you keep that original version, who cares if you color it? I mean, it's just another version for someone to look. I mean, today, like, everyone got their own cut of Star Wars they've got online and stuff. well, we can't get the original one, but if we could, like, as long as it was still available readily, like, who cares what all these other people do with it? I don't see the big deal. It looks terrible. It looks awful.
Well, I guess my question is, like, was anyone asking for this? Like, why were so many people trying to do this over so many years?
So there were basically two companies that did this process, the digital process, and they lobbied very hard to people like Ted Turner, to some of the studios who still own some of these classic movies, that they could bring these movies to a new generation if they put them in color. You know, a lot of these were public domain movies, too. They weren't even owned by anyone. So if you could snatch up It's a Wonderful Life, which was public domain, colorize it and put it on TV, you know, everyone kind of starts seeing dollar signs. And that's really what it was. What they found out, though, was that no one did care. There wasn't a market for this. You know, by the 2000s, like now, by the 2000s, they had actually made it where it looked pretty good when you colorized a film. Do we have tons and tons of stuff out there where they've colorized these classic movies, even though they can do it cheaply and effectively now? No, because there's no market for it. And there wasn't then either. And, you know, that's kind of why it died. There was a lot of backlash to it. There was no market for it. You know, he was going to colorize Citizen Kane, which everyone considered blasphemous. And I think they started on it, and then they never did it. And they said that they came out and I think said that there was some sort of legal reason they couldn't do it. But at the end of the day, it was a very expensive process to color these movies. And no one was watching them any more than they were when they're black and white. Cause
did they say, my video library is being audited? It's a huge audit. But as soon as the audit's over, we will release Citizen Kane in all its colorful glory.
It's gonna be the best version of Citizen Kane you've ever seen. It's gonna be tremendous.
Bigly.
No, they didn't say that. They basically said we're not gonna do this. Everyone kind of stopped doing it. I tried to find out more about like how exactly they stopped and what happened to those companies, but you know, this was in the early 80s and there's just not a ton of information from then because there was no internet back then. But, you know, again, Ted Turner bought all those movies just to show on his network. Someone convinced him more people would watch him if he colorized them. You know, it was a big thing. I mean, that was even, you know, all that happened kind of in the 80s, and even the 90s, it was parodied on The Simpsons and The Critic, the colorization of old movies. And at least in that Siskel and Ebert episode, Roger Ebert claimed, and, you know, I don't think he's the kind of one to speak without backing it up, that there was not one single director of any merit who did not fiercely oppose the colorization of movies. The only guy
that's where it gets weird to me is when, like, I guess maybe the special editions are somewhat interesting because it's the same guy saying like, oh, this is what I wanted to change in my movie. But when it's just somebody else going like, yeah, I'm just going to like do this movie differently. Like, I know sweat and tears were put into this, but like I got a computer and I bought it.
Yeah, I mean, I can get the disrespectful thing, but at the end of the day, I'm just like, well, if you don't want to watch that version, just don't watch it. So, the main thing is the ones they came out with in the 80s, they looked terrible. You know, the color guy would get lazy and he would make the clothes be the same color as the wall. Everyone's skin color was the same.
So it looks like page 23 on the beginning of a comic book, you know, like arc, like where the guys just get like the cover looks beautiful, the first 6 pages look amazing, and then just by the end it's just very small tiles with ink blots in them.
Right, and again, a lot of these movies, they probably were harmed by being color. They were never intended to be shown in that color. The director, the cinematographer, all the people involved, you know, they didn't specify what color the sky was, and some idiot at a computer who probably never made a movie did determine what color the sky was, and who knows if he's going to pick it right or not. And, you know, maybe, so just that kind of thing. And it didn't work out for anyone. That's why it was a big thing there for a few years, and everyone was up in arms about it, and it just went away, and no one ever heard of it again. So,
but you're boys with Ted Turner, right?
I mean, we both went to the same high school.
And do they have like a Ted Turner class there at all? Like, I'm sure he gives a lot of money, right?
Yeah, he gives a lot of money. The school gets a ton of money when he dies. It's like
nice,
tens of millions of dollars that he's leaving to the school when he dies. Yeah, I mean, we didn't go there together. I'm not that old. Yeah, he's our most famous alumni, I'm pretty sure. So,
Because, like, what does he own? He owned WCW. He owned the Braves.
he owned the Hawks. He owned the I mean, he doesn't own anything now except half the state
Sure.
of Montana. But he owned CNN, a bunch of cable networks, TNT, TBS, Headline News.
I always assumed he
Turner-
owned the Nashville network, but I don't think so.
I don't think so. No, he owned one of the sports. There was a Turner Sports channel for a while that eventually became like Fox Sports South. He owned a lot of TV channels. Sure. Again, Braves, Hawks, Thrashers. Thrashers aren't even a team anymore. And he sold it all to AOL and Time Warner, and then stepped aside and Captain Planet was his thing too. Right?
That movie's coming out. Did you read that they're releasing a Captain Planet movie?
It's going to be a Leonardo DiCaprio movie where
that's what I read.
Where he's like some washed up drunk or something.
I don't know. It comes out the same week where they announced that Donald Glover's going to play a young Lando Calrissian, and I'm like, wow, that's great casting. I really think that'll work out well.
I saw that too, and I was like, wow, that's really good. I don't know about the Han Solo casting, but the Lando one, I think that one was pretty spot on.
That guy does a good Harrison Ford. Like he played a young Harrison Ford in Age of Adeline, I think, and he does a good one. So I don't know. I think it's weird. I don't like it. It's a Han solo film. Like that sounds like weird, but I don't know. I'm excited about it. I'll watch it.
I'm not excited about it. But
have you been watching any of the trailers for Rogue One?
I watched the first one. I try not to watch trailers.
Yeah, me too.
Me too. So I haven't watched anyone but the first one that we reviewed on the show.
I try and stay away from them too.
I don't want to. I would like to watch them, but they just give away. It's what does it add except make you way more often a trailer makes me mad than it makes me like, wow, I want to see that.
Yeah.
So especially if it's a movie I already know I'm going to go see, I don't want to see a trailer.
Yeah, if you've got Star Wars on the marquee, like, okay, I'm sold, dog. I'll be there. You don't got to show me that Darth Vader is going to be in it. Like, let me just see that in the theater, dog.
That Chris Pratt, Jennifer Lawrence one still bothers me. Two of the biggest stars in the world in a huge sci-fi movie, and we got to spoil half of it. Man.
Yeah. All right, so Kurtis did it. Kurtis came through. And also, we're just going to be praising Kurtis here. Kurtis booked next week's show. So I'm going to let him tell you what's coming up.
I wasn't ready for that. Halloween's coming up, so we're going to look at some of the films of John Carpenter, because I haven't actually seen any of these, and at least a couple of them have been on my list. Big Trouble in Little China, which is one I always get a lot of crap for the fact I've never seen it. The original, The Thing, we will see, and the other one is Starman.
If I were you, I would have chose like Assault on Precinct 13 and It Lives. Gotta go, son.
Pay attention.